Like that noise, just a super animalistic noise came out of me super deep. And I was like, oh, that one was different. And so she was like, all right, like you're gonna start to push now. And I was like, oh God, it's actually happening.
Well, welcome back, ladies. Today, I'm so excited. I'm interviewing Lauren McEnulty, who is telling us her breech birth story. We have not had a breech birth story on this show for quite a while. And so when this came across my desk, I was like, yes, let's do it. And so Lauren is here today with us. She is a holistic birth doula who also specializes in prenatal and postnatal fitness, as well as bringing her personal expertise on vaginal breech birth to the fold. And she is here with us today. She's a wife, a mother of two beautiful girls. Welcome to the show, Lauren.
Thank you. I'm so excited to share.
Oh man, I love breech birth stories. We were geeking out before I hit record, and I'm like, it's so exciting. Anytime women tell me like, oh, I had breech and I have to, now I have to get a cesarean. I'm always like, no, you don't. You can deliver vaginally in most cases. And so Lauren is here to tell us her personal experience with this. And I think it will be such an encouragement to our listeners and to you, because many times we don't know if we have a breech baby until they decide to not flip at the end. And then we're kind of scrambling to figure it out or find a provider. And it creates a lot of stress. So what was your experience with that, Lauren, when you were pregnant and found out your baby was breech?
Yeah. So I was at a birth center. So we did like the 20-week anatomy scan. And of course, they're not in position at all. And then at around 28 weeks, provider felt my belly and she was like, yeah, she's head down. And I was like, cool. And then we came back for the 32-week and she was like, I think this is her butt, but I really want to make sure. So we just like took a little peek with the ultrasound and she was not. It was head up. So after that, my midwife was kind of like, all right, like we have time. We cannot do breech here at the birth center. So we just need to try to get her to flip. So I went in to I had my little cry, like, towards the end. But then I went into just, let's get this baby flipped mode. So I started doing spinning babies immediately, just once a day. I did acupuncture and moxibustion.
Yeah. And for those who don't know what that is, can you explain that? It's always like a little woo-woo. I will warn you. But
it's woo-woo.
There is like legitimate research to back it up, apparently.
It is. So you burn, and I cannot remember what it's called. It's a stick next.
It's just a moxibustion stick is what I call it.
It's next to your pinky toe, like on the outside of it, and you hold it there.
Sounds crazy even talking about it.
It's so woo-woo. But you hold it there for like 20, 30 minutes on each toe. And honestly, I could feel her moving. Like she was trying to do things in there every time I did it. So it gave me like a little burst. So I was doing spinning babies and acupuncture. I think I did 3 times a week and then moxibustion every day. So my life got crazy busy. We went back at 34 weeks. She was still head up. I could feel my midwife giving up. Like I could just feel her. Like she started to mention C-sections and like she didn't push a lot, but I could feel her energy just shifting. Mm-hmm. And so then I cried more. And then I upped spinning babies to 2 times a day. I was continuing with the acupuncture and the moxibustion, praying, a lot of praying, like also like asking, why me? Why me? Like, why can't I just have like the beautiful birth that I've been prepping for? I was doing trying for hypnobirthing. That was going to be my kind of pain management. But so I was doing 10 to 20, I guess, minutes of that each day. So hypnosis, birth affirmations, visualizations. So I added in kind of like a breech focus. So imagining my baby flipping, imagining a head first baby. And so that helped a little bit with my mental state. Yeah. We went back at 36 weeks and I knew she hadn't flipped. Like it just all felt the same. And my midwife really she was like, a C-section can be so beautiful if it's planned and, you know, you'll be in there, you can play your music and the doctors will just talk about what they had for lunch or what they're doing that evening. And I was like,
that doesn't
why,
sell it.
why would I ever want that? And she just kept like continuing and I'm just trying not to cry in there. My husband was actually like, we're not interested in that. Please stop talking about it. So we left there just feeling so defeated and just felt like I was being given up on. And they gave me like the OB contact cards. She set me up with a midwife at their other location that could try the ECV. And then she gave me 2 OB contacts that they had that maybe could do a breech vaginal birth. So we reached out and scheduled the ECV for that week. She tried, baby's heart rate dropped. So I was immediately like, stop, we're done. We're not going to do it. So I reached out to the OBs that they had. They're out of practice. They don't do it anymore. And so I just looked at my husband and I was like, I don't know, like maybe I should just give up. Like maybe I should just get the C-section. I'm exhausted and not sleeping well. I'm so stressed. And he was like,
it probably is a really stressful.
It was so stressful
because you're doing all these exercises, the fear of this impending C-section.
Yes. And I cried every day, like not just like a little teary, like bawled. Like it was, I was just sobbing. Like anytime I was in the car, I was sobbing. I was during acupuncture, I was sobbing. Like it was just awful. And just the stress was so much. I was like, I don't know, maybe I should just give up. And my husband was like, no, you want this if we're going to get it. And so he was like, we're reaching out to all the birth centers. Like, doesn't matter how far away they are. Like, we're going to reach out to them. So we reached out to, I think, 9 birth centers that week.
Wow.
Got an email back. Like most of them emailed back, which was very surprising. A lot of them were full because it was September. And then a couple of them were like, you don't have a proven pelvis, so we don't want to take you on, meaning I hadn't had a baby yet.
Mom.
Yes. So they didn't know. And I was like, gosh, I just want somebody to just give me a chance. Like, and I think deep down, I knew that I could do it. My mom had 2 unmedicated births. So I think like that programmed my subconscious to just know like, I can do this kind of thing.
Wow.
So one of the birth centers that we had reached out to, she emailed back and said, I'm full, but you need to reach out to Robin in San Antonio. She's known for breech birth. She does a lot of training on it and whatnot. So I was like, cool. We set up an appointment with her for 37 weeks. We went back to the first birth center just to see like what happened. And they're like, yeah, no, like you need to go get a C-section. We are done with care for you. Basically, I'm basically also paid in full to them as well.
Oh my gosh, seriously?
Yes.
They didn't give you any refund? They just like kicked you out the door, like, we're keeping your money. Yes. Wow.
And also, like, just to add this little tidbit, they had the audacity to send me the final bill because I still owed, I think, like $400. They had the audacity to send me that after I delivered.
Stop. I responded.
No, I was like, no, I'm not going to pay that.
I would be demanding a refund because if they're not doing the delivery, that's a big chunk of the bill. Like,
it was in part of the contract. Like it was, they clearly stated that they don't do breech birth. And I was like, that'll never happen to me.
Yeah. Read those contracts carefully, ladies.
Yes. But anyways, so we left that appointment and said, peace out, bye, and went straight down to San Antonio. So over an hour drive, and met with Robin, and she was like, yeah, like, I don't see any problems with it. You're healthy. You're very low risk. So she just requested that I go get a sonogram and like a really in-depth one. And I was like, done, I'll do it. We went the next week at 38 weeks. Baby had an extremely short cord and it was wrapped around her shoulder. So there was
and you saw this on the sonogram.
So there was
Wow.
no way and I had low fluid. So there was no way she was going to turn. I had just spent 6 weeks trying to flip this baby that would not turn.
She's like, Mom, I'm tangled up. It's not going to happen.
I felt so guilty, but also stopped doing spinning babies that day. And it was so freeing. But it kind of goes to show, because I was listening to a lot of Birthing Instincts, Dr. Stu's podcast. And, they were just like, if they're breech, there's a reason that they're breech. Like, it's not like they're just doing it to do it.
They don't have a bad attitude in the womb. Like, the way we talk about babies, like they're rebellious. It's so funny to me. I'm like, I don't think that they're just trying to like one up you in the womb.
Yes. So midwife got that and she's like, well, no wonder she wasn't turning for you. Like, it's very obvious. So I was also very frustrated that the first birthing center didn't ask me to go get a scan. They just were like, oh, she's not flipping. Like,
cut you open.
Yeah.
That's the way we do it here.
Bye. Fired.
Yeah. We'll keep in your money. See you later.
Yes. So
this is why it's so important to choose the right provider and make sure yours is breech trained. If you have any inkling, or at least that they have resources to find those people, like, and are open to it.
Exactly.
So that must have been really affirming to your intuition when you got that scan.
Yes, it really was. Like, something inside of me just released and I was like, oh, like, it's not my body. It's like, it's not even her fault. Like, she just was all tangled in her short little cord. And like, watching my new midwife, Robin, like, she was just not nervous at all about it. She's like, oh, okay. Like, let's just make sure you're hydrated. Let's get more fluid in you. And so then I continued care with her.
I love that. And even like an OB would see that and be like, oh, you have low fluid. That we need to induce tomorrow. Like,
yes. Or even like just her cord being wrapped. Like, that would have freaked
emergency.
them out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And this is just a perfect example of the difference in midwives with a traditional midwifery model of care that see these things and know it's just a variation of normal. This is nothing to panic about.
Yes. Yes. And I think she also just sensed that I just wanted somebody to give me a chance. Like, give me a chance to try this vaginal birth. Like, that's what I want. Like, if it ends in this emergency C-section, like everyone is saying, then that's on me. Like, I'm the one that is making that decision, not y'all.
And did vaginal breech delivery scare you at all? Like, there are some risks that are elevated with that. It's not entirely the same thing. Did people try to freak you out and scare you away from it?
Oh, yeah. And I think just the lack of knowledge around it, because I didn't know much until I started educating myself. Like, our parents were very nervous about me going for it. A lot of people were like, why wouldn't you just get the C-section? Like, you're not taking the easy way out or anything like that. And I was like, no, that's correct.
It is not the easy way out.
Like, a C-section is a major abdominal surgery. And like, with my background in fitness, I was more terrified of the C-section, of what that could do to my muscles and just like the healing process of it. I do remember the thing that just like clicked for me was I was listening to Dr. Stu's podcast and he said a breech baby born via C-section is still born breech.
Yeah.
So, and like
they still have to do the maneuvers for a breech baby just through the abdomen.
And I'm like, why would I even do that then? Like, so that was like a huge thing. And so I have like, so much outside noise still. And, like, we were also the first of our friends really to give birth. So they just didn't know what to say to me.
They didn't understand. Yeah.
So I was just like alone and whatnot, but we finished out our care with her. I hit 39 weeks and I decided to have her check me. I think at this point I was more nervous about going into spontaneous labor being over an hour away from her. And with Texas traffic, it could have been like 2 hours. So I was just very nervous. I was like 1.5 centimeters, she said. And then I remember going back at 40 weeks and she was like, no, you're like not even a centimeter anymore. And so she was like, let me get through a couple more bursts, and then like so chill about it. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
She wasn't worried. I love that.
And so she agreed to let me come in. She made me her labor tea, which she will not tell anybody what is in this labor tea. I don't know what was in it. And I let her do a membrane sweep, and my water broke 2 hours later.
Wow. And how far were you at this point?
40 weeks and 5 days.
Okay.
So
you mean she wasn't like freaking out that, oh, baby's getting bigger by the day and baby's head is going to get stuck, the head entrapment. Like she wasn't nervous about any of this.
No, she like, I could tell she like didn't even want to do it for me, but I think she could tell my anxiety was like,
oh, wow.
through the roof. She was like,
she's like, okay, girl,
she's like,
let me help you out.
Like, but yeah, so I did have like that movie theater water break in the hotel room, because we got a hotel down there since it's birth center.
Okay.
You can't like stay overnight. I don't. There were some things with this birth center that I was like, like, but she did the membrane sweep and whatnot. We went to HEB to get some food, and I could feel just different. And we got back to the hotel room, and I was like, I need to go to the bathroom. I went inside of the bathroom and I felt a pop, and I was like, oh my gosh, like what was that? I stood up and because I was peeing. So I don't know. I was like, it's liquids coming out of me for sure. And so I got up and went out to my husband. I was like, I think my water just broke. And he's like, wow. Oh, really? And then all of a sudden it was like, whoosh, like through my shorts and everything. I was like, oh my God, it's coming out. I can't stop it. And
here they said you had low amniotic fluid.
I know. And it was
not
wild.
Anymore.
Nope, I was hydrated after that scan.
Wow.
But so yeah, water broke. I was supposed to come in like in the next hour because she was going to do another round of the labor tea, but I didn't need it. I was like full on having contractions. They were very close together. We got in the room. My husband's like running back and forth, like, and my doula had agreed to come down with me. So she was like on her way, because I mean, she wanted to experience a breech birth too, but also I think she was just very like involved.
She's invested at this point.
Yes.
I've been there with a client. Same story.
Yes.
She called like 10, 20 doctors to find someone that was trained in breech delivery. And it's worth it, ladies.
It's so worth it.
Find the right provider. That is like my top tip for like breech delivery. Don't try to like strong arm your person to do it when they're not comfortable. Mm-hmm. Keep calling, keep knocking on doors, even if you have to travel an hour away. It's so
worth it. And especially if it's like one of your first, if it's your first.
Yes.
That was something else that I learned. It's like, if you do a C-section that first time, like any child you have after that, it becomes more risky. And then you have to go for the VBAC and all that stuff. And it just...
And they don't ask you that. Doctors don't consider how many children you want to have when they're recommending that first cesarean. And if you want a big family, if you want 3, 4, 5 kids, and they're just going to recommend repeat cesarean, like we don't talk about this enough. Those cesareans, number 4 or 5, those are extremely risky, far more risky than a vaginal breech birth.
100%.
And that's a really big thing. I'm so glad you mentioned that, because that's such an important piece to consider.
Yes. Not once was I asked if I wanted more children, like not once. And that was also something that was on one of the podcasts that I listened to. It was like, that is one of the risks of C-sections. And they don't talk about, oh, like it can be good. It can, like, especially if it's not an emergency, but they don't talk about like the bad stuff that can happen from a C-section or the risks with it. So.
Right. Which means it's not truly informed consent if they're only telling you, we're just going to scare you about all the things that could go wrong with the vaginal breech birth and talk up the cesarean as if it's just something we do every day. But like, if they're not giving you the risks of both of your options, that's not truly informed consent. You're not being given all the information.
Exactly.
And you said you were following me at that time, and I posted, tell me about this. You said I posted like multiple breech birth stories in a row or something.
I think the first one was actually a breech free birth. And I was like, whoa. And that is wild. But you posted that one and then another one. And it was in the point where I was like trying to make the decision of like, should I just go for this? Should I not? And it just felt like such a sign from God that he was like, you are going to do this. You are capable of doing this. And I truly believe he chose me to do this because he knew I would do stuff like this. Like I would come on the podcast. I would submit my birth videos, my pictures to all these other platforms that teach breech, and just to teach women to not stay silent, not just conform, to make other people comfortable. And I do feel like in the birth world, we forget that we're paying for a service. Like our money is like, we're paying somebody for their expertise, of course, but like if they're not aligning with you or you're like doing things at their like beck and call, that's not right. Like you're the customer. You should be making the decisions about how you give birth and whatnot. And I feel like we forget that. And we just like, are like, oh, well, they said to do this and they're the expert.
Yep. My doctor won't let me. Like
take your money elsewhere. Like
totally 100%. This is you and your birth, and you'll remember for the rest of your life. And it's just another day in the books for them.
Yes. Like I don't think a day goes by that I don't think about this birth, like specifically my first birth. It was so powerful what I did for myself and my baby. And I just remember like this, I was so against a cesarean, and I was like, why do I feel this way? And it was just mother's intuition showing up that like, I knew that she wanted to be delivered that way and that we both could do it. And she was literally textbook. Like it was so beautiful and magical.
Oh, so let's jump back to the story because I can't wait to hear it now. So you're like your husband's running around the hotel, your doula's on the way, your water's gushing out. This truly is like a movie scene.
Like they're like, just so you know, like that doesn't actually happen. And I'm like, well, it's happening.
It can, especially if you get a membrane sweep. That tends to stir things up a bit.
Yes. So we make it to the birth center. They're just coming on so strong that I was like, I'm forgetting all of my breathing techniques and everything. And so I go into the room and I just like go hide in a corner. Like I am just in this corner. My doula was always like, you're like in a cave and that's where you feel safe and whatnot. But I remember my doula walking in and I just looked at her and I was like, thank God. Like, and I just like latched onto her.
That look on so many of my clients' faces.
I was like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. Like, I'm also at the birth center. So I'm like, I have to do this. Like, it's just, and that was also why I chose a birth center because I didn't want the option of an epidural. Anyways, but so she shows up.
Out of sight, out of mind.
She shows up and I'm just like, oh, yes. Like, she starts doing hip squeezes immediately. She centers me. She gets me into my breathing and I hit the 3 R's, my rhythm, ritual, my routine. So I had the comb. I bent over the bed. She was doing hip squeezes. My husband was at my head, just like saying my affirmations. I had made a poster board with my affirmations, pictures of my baby from the ultrasounds and whatnot. And
oh, I love it.
It was super powerful. And it just helped, like anytime I looked up, it was there. So it was like, you can do this. And
that's such a great idea. Like a poster board, a vision board for your birth right there in labor.
Yeah. So if I moved, my husband just like moved with the poster board. And so,
that's awesome.
But so that got me through. And I was just like, I was in labor land. It was so beautiful. And like time just was like not a thing. I was on autopilot. Like things are I do remember my midwife coming in and she asked me a really silly question. And I just, in my brain, I was like, I'm not even going to answer that question. And because I know she was trying to see where I was at a little bit. So I just didn't respond. And she's like, okay. So at one
Wow.
point she came in and she checked me a lot and I didn't really say she could, but we also, since it was such a short time together, we didn't really talk about like that I didn't want to get checked. So it was just kind of like, oh, whatever at this point. But she had checked me and I had gone from a 4 to a 9 and fairly quickly.
Wow. That's good progress.
And I don't know, it was like probably within like 3 hours span. But so they just stayed in the room, I remember. And I was like, why aren't they leaving?
Did she tell you were at a 9?
She was like 9 and I didn't really comprehend it. Like, oh,
Okay.
I'm close to pushing.
Yeah.
And then on the next contraction, my body started doing the what's that called? The
bearing down.
Yes. And like that noise, that just a super animalistic noise came out of me super deep. And I was like, oh, that one was different. And so she was like, all right, like you're gonna start to push now. And I was like, oh God, it's actually happening. And so I was on my knees at this point, leaning over a ball, and I just couldn't engage properly. The contractions work a little different with breech too. So you do have to work a little harder than with like a head down baby. So I was working, and she was like, maybe it's time to switch positions. And so I chose to lay on my back, and I swore that I would never do that. I was like, I'm not going to do that. Like, you're not supposed to do that. But it was such a relief to lay flat on my back and just like pull my knees in. And she was able to get a good angle to push where I needed to push, like touch where I needed to push. And I started seeing some good moves after that. And then I remember like her butt's coming out and the ring of fire, which is so accurately named. I just remember like being like, oh, just breathe through that stretch, let it stretch. And then I pushed one more time, and she's like, vividly, I remember her saying, right leg's out, left leg's out. And then I pushed again, and she was like, right arm, left arm. And then she's like, okay, just hold on. And she was like, baby's head is tucking. So my daughter is like laying like face down on the bed. And in the video, you can see her like come up and tuck her chin to come out. So and my midwife's hands off at this point. So the baby, she's just coming out by herself. And then she came out and she had the cord wrapped around her neck at this point. So they just unwrapped it and sucked out, because breech babies don't get the snot kind of out of their. So she pulled some snot out, and she cried. And I always get emotional at this part. And I was like, I did it. Like, I showed all those people, like, there was just so much pride and like joy. Yes. Like, I freaking did it, and I'm also not pregnant anymore. Like, and they put her, they could only get her to my low tummy because her cord was so short. Yeah, like, didn't even really cry. She cried maybe once and just looked up at me, like, just pure joy. And I know, and she was so calm and like just perfect. Like, nothing was wrong with her. She didn't need any of the like emergency things to happen, and she had a very high APGAR score.
Oh my gosh, I'm crying.
It was like, I can't even explain what that felt like. Just being able to be like, I freaking did that. Like, I tried so hard for this. I worked for this, and like, yes. And so it was just pure bliss.
I love this so much. Like, you did it all on your own. Midwife, did she even touch or rotate baby at all as she was coming out?
Really.
It was just completely.
Yeah, she just had her hands off, and like, she kind of like, once the legs came out, she kind of guided her so she had a little bit more room to come out. But yeah, she didn't do much.
Wow. That's the best way to do it. Like, hands off breech is the safest. And I love that for you. And then just imagine her looking up at you on your belly. Like, I'm like, chills.
Yes. She just like was staring up at me, and it was almost like, thank you, Mom. Like, we did it. Like, we did it together. And I was like, this is like such a feeling. Like, this is exactly why I did this. And I was just so proud.
100% worth it. All of it worth it.
Yes.
Yeah, I can just imagine. She's like, "Hey, I know you. Thanks for believing in me too."
Yes. It was
Wow.
so wonderful. And I
Oh,
think total time my water broke at 1:37 and I gave birth to her at like 10:36. So 9
wow.
hours.
That's like textbook perfect birth.
Yes.
And this is possible. This is normal birth. This can be so normal.
Yes. And I didn't tear at all also.
Wow.
0 tearing.
And that's amazing because and I think that makes sense because a baby's bum is more soft than their head. And so it's often, a lot of women will even say like their breech births were like smoother or easier than the head down ones just because of that soft kind of cushion. And it makes sense you'd have to work more too to kind of push them out. You don't have that direct pressure.
Yes, that and something about the uterus, like once the bum is out, the uterus thinks that it's done. So it kind of stops the contractions. So you have to push a little bit more. And
reminded there's still a half a baby coming out.
Yes.
Yeah. Interesting. Wow. That's so incredible.
Yeah.
And you since had another birth. What, having done now a breech birth and a head down birth, what would you say was the differences?
To be honest, I'll take the head down. Like not even just like the stress of it, but like it was easier. Like,
okay.
Because once the head was out, everything else was out.
So quick. Yeah. But that head is a lot more pressure.
It is
to get out.
I will say I had a lot more pressure on my like rear end from her. And I don't know if like that's like, and everybody feels that, or if it was just because she came pretty fast. My second came in 6 hours.
Yeah.
So
you probably had some extra help with your contractions in that birth, like stronger.
And I still pushed on my back.
How funny.
Like the one thing I said I wasn't going to do. And I was like, oh, here we go again.
Yeah. You mentioned uncovering a fear. Tell us about that.
Yes. So my doula, with her package, she offered a fear release, which is really good, I would say, to do, especially with your first, just because you do have these like underlying fears, whether it be like pooping or like tearing, or like mine was like giving birth to a breech baby, you know. But she was talking about how useful it is to uncover that so that when you get into the labor, you're not even thinking about that. Like you've let go of that fear. So it's not going to inhibit you from giving birth. So she did this with me at, I believe it was 39 weeks. So I had found my provider, we were settling in and stuff. And she took me through this thing. And it was just this overwhelming thing of like, am I doing the right thing? Am I being selfish for going for this vaginal birth? Like, and because I think that's what people were putting in my brain. Like when they were questioning why I was working so hard for this, like, what's so bad about a C-section? Like I had one, and like, are you saying that I am less than you or whatnot like that? And it was just like, am I really making the right decision? Like, am I just being stubborn or whatnot? And so just coming to terms with like, no, like I have this deep feeling that this is how I need to birth her, and just shutting out the rest of that noise. So I think that was like super helpful for me, just to be like, you're not being selfish. This is how your baby wants to be born, and you know it.
That's powerful. What advice would you give to moms who found out that they have a breech baby and they're trying to navigate all of this?
My first thing always is go get a scan. Like figure out why they're breech. That was my first thing, just because I spent so long trying to flip her, and the stress from that was awful. Like it ruined me. And
Hmm.
so first off that, and then find a provider that will do it for you. Even if it does end in the C-section, you deserve a beautiful vaginal birth. Your baby deserves you to try. Like, just find a provider that's going to support you in whatever you want to do or that aligns with you. And don't be afraid to like fire your provider. They work for you. You don't work for them. And just trust your intuition. Like if I hadn't have trusted that, then I would have ended up with a C-section. But I was like, I just have this feeling that I need to go the vaginal route. So
Yeah.
trusting your intuition is a big one.
And you really had such conviction that this was the way she needed to be born. And I love that you, despite all the pushback and all the, the experts telling you this is what you need to do and friends and family, like questioning it, you still had this this deep conviction and intuition, really informed by your intuition that this is my baby, this is my birth, this is how she needs to be born and wants to be born. And there's nothing wrong. And I just so admire you for following that out and doing the hard work to trust.
Yes.
And that's so much about what birth is at the end of the day, is that we are trusting that our bodies know what they're doing, that our babies know what they're doing, that there's a reason this is all happening and unfolding the way it is without us trying to get in the way and control it. And even all those spinning babies exercises, all the ECVs, like so much of that, it's like at the end of the day, this baby just needed to be born breech the way, just like you knew in your heart of hearts.
Yes, 100%. Like at some point you gotta like let go and let God just do his work and let your body, like your body has so much wisdom, especially a woman's body. Like it knows what to do. Like so many women before you have done this. And like breech was a normal practice for a while and they've just stopped teaching it. So it's just so sad that like we're turning away a whole population of babies or doing a C-section when it's so unnecessary.
True. Yes. The reason they don't perform breech in hospitals now is not because it's dangerous. It's because the doctors are no longer trained in it. And they stopped teaching it when the term breech trial came out in the 80s, I think it was, and had these horrible reports that were not accurate. The trial wasn't accurately done. It's been disproven since, but it was used to change the curriculum and dissuade doctors from ever attempting breech. And now when something's deemed like risky or more liability, that means, well, we're not going to take any chances. And so it never came back into the fold. So now we have these midwives primarily teaching breech birth, and then some unicorn OBs like Dr. Stu and Breech Without Borders. And, you've got these kind of pioneers bringing it back, this training and this knowledge back, which is so important because true breech vaginal birth in the hands of a knowledgeable provider that understands how to do it like yours did is not more risky for the baby, that the outcomes are good. And that's something that we need to shout from the rooftops because women are getting gaslit every day in hospitals by their OBs, even by their midwives and birth centers, like in your case, and telling them you just have to get a cesarean. That's your only option. And it's not.
I remember because I was a trainer, a group fitness trainer, and this was after I'd given birth, and we were talking and I was like, oh yeah, Marlo, my daughter, she was breech and she's a labor and delivery nurse. She's like, oh, so C-section, right? And I was like, no, I did vaginal birth. And she goes, that's so dangerous. I can't believe you did that. And I was like, actually, do you know what's dangerous? The fact that doctors don't know how to give birth to breech babies or
to deliver.
Yes. And I was like, that's the dangerous part, is that they don't know what to do and that I have to go find another provider. That's the dangerous part. Like, so yeah, get me fired up about
Good thing you educated her. But it's true. Like, you're the medical professionals. You should know this. And it's not, your information is outdated if you think it is more dangerous. Like, yes, there are certain risks that are elevated, but done with a provider that understands the breech birth and the cardinal movements and all of that, knows how to intervene. It's not more risky. It's not more dangerous. The outcomes are statistically insignificant, is I think how they put it.
Yes.
It's statistically insignificant increases or whatever in any kind of, serious outcomes or complications. So Lauren, you said your husband recorded your breech birth. Is that true?
Yes. So my doula had a GoPro. It's like on a GoPro.
A GoPro?
So yeah.
This is like a legitimate sport now.
Yeah. So she videoed some of it, but I also wanted photos. So she handed it off to my husband and he did some of it while she took photos.
Like breech birthing, the extreme sport. Okay, we have got to get those videos and photos, and we will put them in the show notes with your permission, of course.
Yes.
But I love that you make these available to women because it's so important for us to see what our bodies are capable of, especially when it comes to breech. And for those women struggling with a situation and trying to figure out what to do, there's not a lot of material out there. And I think seeing it and seeing what your body is capable of, and I will warn you, some of them are graphic. I saw some of the photos, so they're full nudity, we are not blurring anything out. So proceed with caution. But if this is something that would encourage you and inspire you, you know who you are, and we're going to make that available with Lauren's consent.
Yes. Yeah, it was very powerful for me to watch a few breech births as well. So if I can empower some people, I will.
Yes. And I think that's why we share these birth stories, and hearing the stories, seeing the births, seeing that our bodies are fully capable of birthing babies in all positions is so powerful. So we're going to make that available to you in the show notes. Click with caution and be encouraged. Thank you so much, Lauren, for sharing your story and just encouraging women to trust their intuition and that their bodies can really do this. I just love that message, and I'm so appreciative of you. Where can women learn more about you and find you?
Yeah, so my Instagram is just my name, Lauren McEnulty. I did start a doula business, so my website's on my Instagram, but it's called Waves Doula Care. So I'm just kind of starting my journey in that. But if you're in the Central Texas, I'm around the Austin area, I would love to help you with your birth.
Beautiful. I hope some divine connections are made through this podcast. And we'll see you next week.
Thank you.